Hi guys, as usual, before we begin, all necessary links in the video description, all the things that I've added after the review in the video description, and my test system setup details also in the video description down below. Now, yes, that's me, that's a little version of me, so I'm waving to you now. Okay, so today we'll be reviewing Hidizs MK10. If you remember, a while ago I was reviewing Hidizs MK12, codename Taris. Full metal IM set that was inspired by jellyfish. Now, what we have here today is MK10 called Arcsonics, inspired by Iron Man. For a while I was wondering what the shape was reminding me of when I got them out of the box, and then I realized that Arcsonic is a similar name to the arc reactor of Iron Man. And yes, they actually do remind Iron Man mask, but not to extent that Hidizs would be sued by the owners of the Marvel rights for Iron Man. So now I'm not sure why newer IMs have a lower mark number, but this time I have to admit that I can see Iron Mask here. If you are wondering why these, the answer is very simple. The diaphragm is supposed to be made with silicon carbide crystal. All the crystals are pretty interesting structures with weird and wonderful mechanical and electrical properties. By my profession, I am more familiar with silicon and germanium and their conductive properties, but when I read about diaphragm made with crystal, I was like, wow, how's that even possible? And how does this sound? Well, crystals are very rigid structures, very hard and sometimes very different from base material. Think like diamond versus coal or graphite. Now, crystal diaphragm, that's really something. That would be totally hard, that would be totally inflexible, but also can be very, very lightweight. So something that you want to have in any kind of dynamic driver, also in a speaker, because this way your driver would be moving like a real piston without any kind of flexibility. Now, the specification says that this is 10mm driver with dual magnets, meaning that there is one magnet inside of the coil and a second magnet outside of the coil. So that's also interesting because together they are quite powerful. Now, as I said, the diaphragm made with silicon carbide crystal, and the frequency response is specified as anything between 20 Hz and 40 kHz. That's a very good treble extension. And the sensitivity is given as 115 decibels. So again, these are quite sensitive. The impedance is given as 52 ohms. So the theory says that with sensitivity specified as 115 decibels, they should be fairly easy to drive with basically anything. And the THD is specified as being below 0.3%, which is nice for the headphones. Now, let's talk about the comfort and let's talk about what's inside the box. Inside the box you'll find fox leather carrying pouch. It's quite nice, but I'm a fan of the hard carrying cases because I always worry that when I put something like that in my backpack, and there is a lot of things flying around in my backpack, like laptop chargers, like power banks, like my laptop with full metal case, something bad may happen. But still, it's quite nice because it's very compact. And we obviously have these guys. And we have cable. The cable is specified as silver-plated oxygen-free copper. It's very flexible and it doesn't have any kind of microphonic effect. It's very nice cable with standard 0.78mm connectors. What's interesting, you can buy those headphones with two types of cables. This is not like you have both of them in one box, but you actually have to specify which one are you buying. and we have obviously the traditional 3.5mm jack, but we also have 4.4 balanced jack. So in my opinion, that's the best choice, because if you buy one like that, you can easily buy a converter from 4.4 to 3.5 and have best of both worlds. If you buy single-ended cable, that's not so easy. You'd have to replace the whole cable, or you have to cut the connector and solder your new one. So that would be the better choice, more practical for me. And as you can see, I got that one. We have two sets of silicone tips, black ones and white ones, with very nice holders. I haven't seen anything like that earlier, but it works. What's the difference? The difference is that the black ones are thicker, the white ones are very soft, and these are very, very delicate. For my listening purposes, set of white ones was better. Obviously the largest size, because I have elephant ears. Now the last thing that we are getting in a box is a set of replacement nozzles, and I'll be talking about those in a second, because they do change the sound. Now, as for the comfort, these are full metal build. They are supposed to be made from zinc alloy that was mirror polished, and they look very, very nice. In my ears, they are very comfortable for a second or two, because this is full solid metal. So for a second or two, I have this feeling of slight coldness, but then again, they are getting my body temperature, and I'm completely forgetting that I have anything in my ears. They are that good. They are not very lightweight. I cannot even move them like that. But nevertheless, I don't feel them in my ears, and I had never had any kind of situation where they would be falling outside, or just even losing the grip inside of my ear. But as I've said, I have large ears. So anyway, the comfort is perfect. You can see that the side facing your ear is molded in a very interesting way. It's not flat. It's not flat. I wouldn't say it gets the grip in your ear, but in my case, it fits perfectly with the inside of my ear. So that's about the build. I've told you about the cable, I've told you about the zinc alloy, and I've told you that we do have nozzle types. Now let's talk about the nozzle types in a little more detail. They are looking exactly the same at the first glance. The difference is that they are marked with rubber seals. Yeah, like that one. And this one is actually called silver, although I would say it's translucent. The rubber seals are very small, and sometimes it may be quite easy to lose them. So if you will be replacing the nozzles, be very careful. We have three types of nozzles. That one is called silver, that one is called crimson red, and the default nozzles are black. Yeah, you can see the rubber gasket, rubber seal over there, it's black. And the black one is called the bus nozzle. The silver one is called, the transparent one, is called treble nozzle. And the crimson red nozzle is called vocal nozzle. Now, what are the differences? This one brings out the treble. The silver one brings out the treble. The default one is a bass nozzle, but in my experience, in my opinion, this is actually the best one for me. It doesn't bloat the bass. It gives the bass depth and texture, so I stayed with this one because it makes the bass sound better, but without taming in any way the mid-range or the treble. So it's not boosting the bass but at the expense of other frequency bands, but it just gives, I would say, quality to the bass. And the silver nozzle, yes, this one actually boosts the treble, but the treble can sometimes start to be a little hot in some tracks. I'll talk about that later. And the vocal nozzle is somewhere in between. It seems to be pushing vocals a little bit forward, but this time with less bass extension. Now, let's talk about the sound qualities, and I was testing them, and I will be using them with the default nozzles, which are the black ones, the bass nozzles. One more thing about the built-in mirror-like finish. They really are fingerprint magnets. It doesn't really show here because they are silver, let's say, but I had to clean them for the review because there were my fingerprints all over them. Now let's talk about the sound quality, as that's the most important thing. The bass. The bass goes really deep and it's very clear. It doesn't bleed into the mids and it doesn't mask anything in other bands of the frequencies. It's a very nice detailed rumble in the back and all around you. It's not like I would compare this to the bass in best of my speakers, because it's not a bass that can be pinpointed to one location coming from one source and bloated, but instead it gives a very nice foundation filling the room. In this case, it's not filling the room obviously, but the impression is that it's basically everywhere, but it doesn't mask anything. So as I said, has a great foundation for everything else. Now, it's a little on the warm side, which is dynamic drivers quality that I always love. It's really, really good with speed, clarity and texture. Usually the warmer bass, in my experience, is sometimes slower. But in this particular case, and that's the truth with most of the dynamic drivers. Dynamic drivers have not as fast as balanced armatures or planar drivers. But in this case, we are getting the best of both worlds. We are getting speed and clarity and organic warmth in the bass. Now, let's move to the mid-range. This is a dynamic driver, so mids are slightly on the warm side, and again, that's good, as the sound is very organic and natural. They are open, there is a lot of detail, and I'll be talking a lot about that in a second, especially in vibrating sounds of strings and brass instruments. And there is no sibilance whatsoever, though, as I've said, silver nozzles sometimes sounded a little hot. Now, moving to the treble. We are talking about the treble nozzles, so let's talk about the treble in general. Now remember, these are bass nozzles that I'm testing them with, but what we get here is also open air treble that's very clean and very transparent. Again, there is a lot of detail and treble is full of light and air. It's never sibilant, and to my ears, it's in perfect balance with the bass and mid-range. I really liked classical tracks as they are so fast and open that these headphones never got lost even in very complicated passages, and that's a quite accomplishment for the dynamic drivers, because as I've said, again, in my experience, dynamic drivers are not as fast and they are not as precise as planars and balanced armatures. Now, I've told you that we'll be talking about the detail a little bit more, so now that's the time. This is a highlight of these headphones. There are tons of detail, almost on planar level, very, very close, but with dynamic driver, musicality. So best things from both worlds, musicality of the dynamic drivers and speed and precision of planar drivers. That's probably because of the diaphragm material. As I've said earlier, crystals are very rigid, they are very precise. It's like having balanced armature without dryness, or having warm planars. Speed accuracy, but without sounding analytical. These are excellent when it comes to the detail and the way the detail is presented to you. They never sound analytical, but there are tons of detail. At the same time, being dynamic drivers, they are very musical. Now, let's talk about the imaging. I never had this feeling of elevator music where everything happens in the middle of my head, but they also do not give you very big, very large soundstage of open back, full-sized planars. Still, left and right is really wide and center has good definition and position. So all in all, it's a good imaging, even if not open planar wide level. But importantly, speed and detail give a lot of space, air between the instruments, and that helps with imaging. I've also noticed that better amplifiers, headphone amplifiers, immediately boosted imaging with MK10. So maybe these things are connected. The better amplifier I've used, the better player I've used with more powerful output, the better, wider and deeper imaging was getting. And we will be talking about the scaling of those in a second, because that's also something interesting. So let's talk about the pairing. They scale really well, sounding better and better with better, more powerful sources. The more juice they will get, the more open, transparent and detailed they get. They excelled with FIIO M15S. They were very, very good with High-B R4. Tangim Luna 80 was also excellent pairing. Surprisingly, they were also really nice with AP80 Pro X, the smallest player that I own. I had a lot of fun with this setup. They are easier to drive than planars, but they also love powerful grip of high current amplifiers. So in a way, in this area, they are similar, but the thing to remember here is that they scale really well. If you give them better source, if you give them more powerful, cleaner headphone amplifier, they will be singing even better. Now, it sounds like I like them, right? Yes, I do. These are a lot of fun. Tons of detail with natural, organic musicality. They make your feet and body move. And when you want to relax and dive for detail, it's all there, handed you on the plate. I really like how musical and at the same time detailed they are. The finish is superb, as you can see. The materials are superb, the finish is excellent, and the cable is very good. I love how they scale up with better gear. Honestly, I like them better than Mark 12 Tourist, and I have to admit that when it comes to the resolution, they are easily on balance level or planar level. But with that organic quality that comes from having dynamic drivers. Now, I really, really like them. And if that's the first silicon carbide crystal driver, then I cannot wait to hear more headphones with that technology, and maybe, keeping my fingers crossed, like that, for having that in speaker drivers. Because if all the qualities that I'm hearing here are coming from new material, this means a lot. I hope to have more headphones like that, larger headphones, maybe even speaker drivers. This might be a difficult thing because it's easier to make small crystals, but building large, thin crystals may be difficult to achieve from the technology point of view. But I'm keeping my fingers crossed for something like that in larger cars, and maybe, I don't know, maybe not the bass drivers, but mid-range drivers, treble drivers for regular speakers. So anyway, getting back to the point, these will stay as a part of my permanent collection, and they will be used as one of my reference items for testing other portable gear. I hope you liked this video and that it helped you in any way. If it did, Be sure to subscribe and check my other videos also on larger equipment like Chinese clone amplifiers or preamplifiers. Thanks for watching this video and have a great day, guys. See you next time.